Okay, number 10, it says find the equation of a line that has the given point and given slope. So the slope is 0. Now if we look at a graph and the slope is 0, that means that there's no rise, in other words, it's a flat horizontal line. When the slope is 0, it's a flat horizontal line. Okay? So it has a point on the line that says x is -4 and y is 6. So if we look at a line where y is 6, here we are at 6, this is a line that's going to go through 6, and it's a flat line because m is 0. So the first question I ask, if the slope is 0, what direction is the line? It's horizontal. Horizontal lines go through the y-axis. So where's it going to cross the y-axis? At -6, or rather at 6. So the equation then is y equals 6. It doesn't matter what x is because it's a flat line. See, if we use that equation y equals mx plus b, and we're saying m is 0, what's 0 times x? 0. So really y equals b. It equals the y-intercept. And the y-intercept is 6. Number 11. In number 11, we're going to use the online graphing calculator to help to solve this equation. Okay? So I'm going to show you how to do that. But first, we need to be able to write the equation in the slope-intercept form. Meaning, the graphing calculator only likes it when you have it y equals something. Y has to be on one side, and everything else has to be in the other. So the first equation says y equals -2x. So we're good with that one. The second one, though, says y minus 3x equals 0. So I got to get that 3x out of there. I got to move it over to the other side of the equation. So when I look at this equation, it says y minus 3x. So the opposite of minus 3x would be positive 3x. So if I add 3x to both sides of the equation, that cancels, and I end up with y equals 3x plus 0, or 3x. So now I have two equations here. I have one equation that says y equals -2x, and the second equation that says y equals 3x. So I have the explanation in the notes, and that's certainly one way of solving it, is to use the example in the notes. But I'm going to show you right now with the online graphing calculator how to solve this otherwise. So with the online graphing calculator, and I like to use the one that says another graphing calculator. I have two of them up here, but this is the easier one to use. So our first equation says y equals -2x. The second equation says y equals 3x. Now I can graph those two equations. So now you see that there's two lines. Now it's asking you to decide which ordered pair is a solution. In other words, what's the one point that is a solution for both equations? That would be the point where they intersect. You can see on the graphing calculator where they cross. They happen to cross at 0, 0. The neat thing with the online graphing calculator is that you can click on intersection, okay, to find out where they intersect. You do have to choose the equation. So you can see over here where I'm pointing, you have to click on both of those boxes. Then you say find the intersecting point, and it'll tell you that the intersecting point is 0, 0. That's called the origin. Okay, let's go back now to the online test and number 13. I'm sorry, number 12. Number 12 is the same idea as what we just did in number 11. The equations are not written in the slope-intercept form. So you could solve this equation several ways. The way in which I'm showing you is to graph it. So what I did was I wrote each of the equations in the slope-intercept form. And you'll see the explanation on the notes. In other words, the first equation, 2x plus y equals 5, you see the explanation in the notes. That became y equals negative 2x plus 5. The second equation, where it said x minus 2y equals 5, that became y equals 1/2 x minus 5/2. Now let's go again to the graphing calculator so that we could graph those two and find the solution. Now in this case here, what they're asking for is for you to just graph them, to pick which one is the correct graph for those equations. So I'm going to put in the first equation. We said the first one, y equals negative 2x plus 5. And the second equation is 1/2 x, so 1 over 2x minus 5 over 2. And we'll graph it. Okay, now you need to look at the graphs to figure out which equation, or rather, which graph represents those equations. Well, the graph for letter D is the one that looks closest like what I have here on the graphic calculator. You see where the two lines cross, it's just below the x-axis, and it's x is 3 and y is negative 1. So the graphing calculator could help you to solve these problems.